This RealSide experience would begin in the upstairs of my house. The house represents the personal self on the real side. A recreation of it then, and being within it would suggest a demonstration relating to that personal self. Very often we may have RealSide experiences where we are inside our houses, remaining within the limitation of the personal created self. We may have the guides knocking at the door and inviting us out for an adventure. A clear example of the guides attempting to encourage us to move beyond the personal self, to explore and become aware of more than just our created selves. Sometimes, too, we can have ill-intended individuals attempting to access our personal selves. As such characters may well be cabal controlled and not necessarily realize they are so, or perhaps very blatantly presenting as reptilian dark force types. Their agenda would be to embroil us in creation, a creation that is restriction, and so any idea we agree with, that we decide upon, we become the effects of, and in creation we remain. The reptilian controlling systems and creations would not only have us caught in cause and effect, as is the consequence of any idea agreed with, but we would be a contributory factor toward the continued demise of the Earth, and indeed this simulator. As all of the reptilian systems do not make sense with the whole of life, do not benefit it in any way, and are indeed designed to destroy the planet, with continued agreement to restriction, which is what cause and effect creation is. So the simulator goes through its seemingly inevitable downward spiral into oblivion. So, as these dark force characters are demonstrated attempting to enter our homes, they would represent restriction, as is their inclination. Preventing or denying them access would indicate we are not in agreement with the various ideas they represent. Often we may find dubious characters lurking in the unconscious parts of our personal created houses, perhaps the attic, or in the subconscious back garden, indicating emotional attachment to individuals that result in a taplining restriction, or agreement to the ideas these characters represent, or their created ideas we have been marketed into accepting. So it's interesting, the demonstrations we have of the individuals we find in the houses of our created selves, those we have accepted inside, indicating that we have agreement with their ideas, or perhaps emotional attachments. But, as with everything in our continued experience, we are always the decider, and although these characters may even try and force themselves into our RealSide houses, and can even be successful, as individuals will impose on others, or are already in our houses, we have to agree, or continue to agree, with the ideas they either represent or are presenting us with, for them to incorporate as taplines in our created consciousness selves. The guides, as an example, would only enter the personal self-houses on the RealSide if invited in, or if we are willing to move beyond the personal self-house and venture forth with the guides to be shown something new, so that we continue to become more aware. So here I was, in the upstairs of my created vehicle, which would represent the RealSide. Creation is an overall created experience in accordance with the decided construction of the overall created consciousness within it through cause and effect. The RealSide of each individual is that which is beyond the physical, that is a part of the overall simulator, as we all are in life. We all are this life and this awareness. The RealSide of creation, comprising of the collective effect of what is decided. And so it is quite the jungle out there. But if we find ourselves on the upstairs of our houses, we are on the real side specific to us. I would view this then as the real side shared, yes, by all in the simulator, the other life levels, etc., but the unique individual contribution that is our decision-making, our causes, that has added to the overall real side and creational picture. For with me, on the real side of my personal self-house, I was with 3 others, and we seemed to be spring cleaning the upstairs of my house. Never a bad thing for sure, being on the real side of our created selves and making the situation purer. I'd construe this as getting all the 5 vehicles in alignment with the purpose of why we are here, that being to recognize the ease. So, a little cleaning, a little refocusing, a removing of debris and distortion, going through the bodies to clean out any personal self-intents, ensuring the entirety of the created self is with the program. I would suggest that these 3 other people may well have been representing the other bodies, and with me included, I would be standing in as the view of body number 4. That would then be the 4 aspects of the created self beyond the physical, the astral, mental, causal and etheric. So here were all the 4 aspects of the created self, getting with the cleaning program, cleaning on the real side, getting with the focus of is recognition, and this would result in the experience resembling that which was being focused on through my 4 vehicles, as everything equals itself. And so here we had the real side of the created self becoming purer in keeping with a focus that would align me ever more so with the purity of the true reality. One of the individuals seemed somewhat grumpy, and rather lazy. So me and the other two had to crack the whip, as it were, to motivate this individual into pulling his weight and getting with the focus. I would suggest this was the emotional astral vehicle, as generally this is the most troublesome aspect of the created self, the sensation body, the most resistant part of the created self, as we move forward into the unknown of the great reality of his recognition. Seems my vehicles had a specific cleaning objective, as we were using what seemed to be a bug spray or repellent of a kind. My impressions were then that we were dealing with the impact and effects of nanotechnologies, as on the occasions I have encountered nanotech on the RealSide, it always is demonstrated as bugs that swarm you. The physical body is, of course, infused with nanotech from various delivery systems, the food, vaccines, chemtrails, etc. The idea being to activate these nanotechnologies through 5G, which would result in a greater control over the human race. The human race would be far more computer programmable through these technologies, and even to the extent of being completely robotized. Everything dependent upon agreement, and that would include that which has allowed the presence of nanotech into the overall human experience. For with compounded agreement to restricting ideas, so does the body vehicles reflect this continued restriction. Consequently, those in agreement will find themselves in far more rigid body vehicles, and an expression of such rigidity is robotization. So, as the overall cause and effect agreement is consistent with robotization, then this allows for all the various processes to roll out that takes the human race to that point, including the presence then of the introduction of nanotechnologies into the human experience that are designed for this purpose, with individuals choosing to become more aware with a sincerity to do so, and standing with the new wave in the new nowness of the ears. They are in creation, but are no longer the effects of it, despite what they have agreed to, and no longer the effects of that which makes up their created consciousness.